towards an Africanized gamified digital literacy MOOC. When we think of gamification, the very first thing that comes into our mind is integrating gaming elements in teaching and learning. If we have to bring this discussion back into the African higher education context, we immediately think of how do we enhance the critical skills of our students, such as critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, online collaboration, abstract thinking. How can we harness these skills within a specific discipline? However, when we start thinking of the infusion of indigenous knowledge, we think of how do we integrate sacred totems, symbols, and animals that represent the spiritual world into a gamified space? How do we infuse the sacred sites and rituals that hold a sacred meaning to many of our current South Africans? How do we demythologize the African belief systems and way of life? How do we reposition indigenous knowledge from the periphery to the center of a gamified learning experience within an interdisciplinary space? If we get this right, we embrace a contextually relevant digital innovation in the African University.
Hello everyone. I'm going to share with you some strategies on how we integrated the components of the design framework for gamification. The framework that we used in gamifying this MOOC is the 6 Ds proposed by Webeck and Hunter 2012. The framework has got 6 components and each component starts with the letter D. So the first component is defining the outcomes. The second component is delineate the target behavior. The third component is describe your players. Then we looked at the fourth component, which was devise the activity loop. The fifth component is designing fun. The sixth component was deploying the appropriate tools. Colleagues, in conclusion, I want to say that gamification requires 25% of technology to be enabled, but the application of gamification requires 75% of psychology. Thank you.
Good day, colleagues. My name is Ramashego Shilamphahlele. I just want to add on what my colleague Dr. Gavenda has explained to you earlier. For me, it's just to say how we infuse the making of the traditional beer. Everything started with the goals that we had in mind, and the goals were aligned to the topics of our learning unit. We needed to bring the African context where all the areas that were used were those that South Africans will be familiar with, and even those who are not South Africans, I think they've heard of, or they are even going to have interest to visit those areas. For example, we used Ukutamba grasslands, we used Savannah Forest and Kruger National Park, where we are telling a story of animals and where students are collecting marula. And the rewards, we used marula beer ingredients. At the end, they are able to make the marula beer with all the ingredients. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name's Jessica Nell and I was on the team for the storyboarding. Sometimes it's not so easy to bring in Indigenous knowledge through content, but there are other ways. And what could be more beautiful than through our history of storytelling? With a storyboard, we could create characters unique to Africa, imbuing strong female personas and inspiring some entrepreneurial competition. We created narratives for a series of African animal guides, introduced to the students as they moved through a map of the African Reserve, and who would lead the students through the content while indirectly educating them about things like conservation. For the characters themselves, their personalities and characteristics were inspired by the stories of Credo Mutwa, a celebrated Sangoma, and also stories by game rangers that we picked up through a number of blogs online. We truly immersed ourselves in these characters, the world and the student experience, which really allowed for some deep reflection. Thanks everyone.
Welcome to the Gamified massive open online course on basic skills in digital literacy. You will be guided through 5 lessons that will teach you important topics. So come and join us on our journey as we are introduced to new topics and learn new skills. Meet the characters that will guide you and that will ensure you understand all the topics. Level up and earn marulas for your health beer by completing all the resources and activities. Also compete with your fellow students on the rankings board. complete various fun activities and games that will test your abilities to make sure you've gained the necessary skills. Complete lessons and earn badges that's themed after the ingredients you will need to make your health a Marula beer. Complete the entire course to earn the badge of digital literacy. So let's get started.